I shouldn't be recording this. I shouldn't even be speaking about it. But if you're hearing my voice right now, then maybe that means I've still got a little time left. Time before the game notices what I'm doing. Time before it decides to erase more than just the save files. I know how insane that sounds. A video game that deletes more than memory data? You're probably already laughing, ready to click away. But you won't laugh when it happens to you. When you lose something that you know can't possibly vanish, and yet it does. That's why I need to share this. Because if this video disappears, if the channel suddenly goes dark, you'll know it found me again. You think you know frustration? Picture this. You're a kid, sitting cross-legged in front of a glowing screen, clutching a cheap plastic controller while the hum of the TV fills your living room. The world feels safe, simple. Every jump, every sound effect, every cheerful soundtrack jingle is comfort. Your progress in the game is the one thing you control. It's the and that's what it's like. The first time I saved vanished, I blamed myself. A power outage, a corrupted memory, stupid mistakes. But when it happened again, I knew it wasn't just each erasure felt different. Personal, as if the game was reaching out its arms, brushing cold corners. And I started losing all my once I knew, pictures I knew, messages on my phone, at first small details, like someone carefully testing boundaries. And then, boom, I really shook. Every word I say is a nail at the top, drawing your attention. The bottom of the house, I grew up in the glow of the screen, I weighted the controller in my hands. The little victory screen felt like the entire world was cheering just for me. Those memories aren't just nostalgia. They're stitched into who I am. I don't have to explain it to you, do I? You know what it's like, staying up late because you're so close to leveling up, promising yourself just one more match, then realizing the sun's already peeking through your curtains. Or those playground conversations where rumors spread faster than the school bell. Secrets about hidden bosses, cheat codes, and glitches only the chosen few supposedly knew. For me, those weren't just games. They were safe places, worlds where things made sense. Clear goals, predictable rules, a kind of order you don't always get in real life. That's why I didn't think twice when I stumbled across the game. It wasn't flashy. It didn't have the kind of cover art that grabs you. In fact, it looked dated, like something pulled from a bargain bin in a forgotten rental store. But something about its title nagged at me, vaguely familiar, like I'd heard it whispered about once, but couldn't remember when. I remember loading it up for the first time. The graphics weren't impressive, even by old standards. The controls were clunky, and yet, I couldn't put it down. It had that same addicting pull as those childhood favorites, the kind where you lose hours without realizing it. Grinding levels felt oddly satisfying. Hidden rooms appeared in places they shouldn't have, and there was this sense that the game knew what I was looking for, serving up little secrets just as my curiosity piqued. But here's the thing, every gamer knows frustration too. You play for hours, you save religiously, you trust the little icon in the corner to guard your progress. It's routine, safe, unshakable. So when my first save file vanished, I thought it was a fluke, a bad write, corrupt data. Annoying, sure, but nothing worth obsessing over. Except, this one was different. I should have stopped then. I should have quit the moment that first save disappeared. I got more mad this time. I've been playing for hours, grinding games, building rare items, mapping out areas that felt too big for a moment. I remember saving 3 times in a row and still finding the show. Welcome to Spender. Because if you grew up in that era, you knew memory cards and cartridges couldn't all be back. So when I think of all the games that I all that looking going, the character I'd been shaping, the progress I'd sweated through, erased like a I burst into scream, took the controller, told myself it was just bad luck. Maybe the system was maybe my system was different. We all have that red file that I need to use. But there was something wrong. The title screen loaded slower than usual, dragging, like the console itself was reluctant to start. And the music, God, I swear it wasn't the same track. Normally, it had this upbeat, almost chiptune bounce to it. But this time, It was slower, warped, like the melody was being played underwater. And when I pressed New Game, the sprites on the character select screen looked wrong, just slightly. The colors seemed darker, like someone had turned the saturation down. Their eyes didn't quite look forward anymore, but slightly off to the side, like they were avoiding me. I told myself it was a bug, a glitch. Maybe my TV was dying, maybe my imagination was running wild. But in the pit of my stomach, I felt it. That sensation you get when something isn't supposed to be happening, and yet it is. Still, I pushed it aside. I started over, rebuilt my character, dove back into the grind. Gamers are stubborn like that. If a game deletes your file, you don't throw in the towel. You prove you can do it again, faster this time. But the nagging thought never left. The game had taken something from me. Not just progress, not just data. It had decided to erase it. Like it was testing me. I should have quit. Pulled the plug, deleted the game, walked away. But I didn't. Because deep down, I needed to know what else was hiding in there. And that's when my curiosity became the real danger. At first, I thought I was just imagining it. Maybe I'd overlooked something before. Maybe I'd unlocked content by accident. Games back then were full of secrets, hidden levels, cheat codes, weird Easter eggs that only kids with too much time on their hands ever found. So when the game presented me with a new area, I assumed it was one of those happy accidents. But this wasn't the kind of secret level anyone would brag about discovering. It started in the hub world. Normally, there were 3 exits, each leading to a different stage. But on my third run-through, there was a 4th. Naturally, the screen went black for longer than usual. When it came back, I wasn't in some musical. I was in a place that looked familiar. Cracked walls, crooked ceiling plate, a desk shoved into the wall. It took me a second to realize it, but when I did, I stopped. And then the NPC appeared. It was the standard plot, the one that usually played out hints or important lines of dialogue. But when I pressed it, the bot couldn't show what was happening. I froze. The dialogue box. I hit the button, and the reply made my chest tighten. We told you not to. I don't know why, but I laughed. A nervous, choking kind of laugh. I convinced myself it was a hack, a leftover debug message. Some hidden developer joke. That's what I told myself. But then the music shifted. Not the usual loop. This was distorted, a low, buzzing drone that felt like it was coming from inside my skull. I kept exploring, against every instinct screaming at me to stop. Other NPCs showed up in places they weren't supposed to be. Characters I hadn't even unlocked yet, standing there in the wrong environments. Their eyes hollowed out, pixels jagged like broken teeth. When I tried to talk to them, all I got were fragmented lines. It hurts. Why did you load us again? You're not supposed to see this. And then, the worst part, a sprite that wasn't supposed to exist at all. A distorted version of my player character. Same build, same gear, except its face was stretched into something that looked like a grin. It followed me, one step behind, mirroring my movements like a shadow that wouldn't let go. I should have recorded it, but deep down, I knew. Any footage wouldn't have survived. The game didn't want proof. It wanted me. That was the moment intrigue curdled into fear. I used to think of video games as safe little worlds. Contained. Pixels trapped behind glass, no matter how terrifying or bizarre. But that illusion started to collapse the night I turned my console off, and it kept playing anyway. I remember lying in bed, my TV screen black, when a faint hiss of static leaked into the room. Not from the speakers, not from my phone. It was as if the air itself was vibrating with the same corrupted audio I'd heard in the game. Warped chiptune tones bending into shrieks. I sat up, heart pounding, and the noise cut off instantly, like it knew I'd noticed. The next morning, I told myself I'd imagined it. Sleep paralysis. My desk, which had always been a mess of pieces, notebooks, and junk food wrappers, looked rearranged. Not tight, not clean, rearranged. The controller I left upside down was perfectly synchronized. It coiled neatly like a snake gauge structure. chair was turned completely, as if someone had considered it. A dark female it confirmed what I already knew. The NPCs no longer spoke in names. They spoke about standing in the corner of the room that looked eerily like another whispered, "We saw you later." Other moments I was being waited. I brought a friend over. Let's call him. I wanted proof. Someone else could witness this madness. I fired up the game in front of him, sweating with anticipation. But of course, to him, it looked normal. Cheerful music, pixelated forests, quirky NPC chatter. He gave me a look halfway between pity and amusement. "Man, I think you've been binging too hard. Go outside." He left. And that night, he texted me in a panic. His phone contacts, half of them, were gone. Photos missing. Notes erased. He was swearing at me, asking what kind of virus I'd given him. But I hadn't touched his phone. The only thing we'd shared was the game. That's when I realized it wasn't confined to my console, my room, my life. Whatever this thing was, it spread like corrupted data, jumping systems, rewriting, deleting. And the files it wanted most weren't digital. They were memories. I know how insane that sounds, but trust me, when you wake up and realize entire conversations are gone, when people swear you never said things you remember vividly, that's when you understand. The game deletes more than saves. It deletes you. But before I explain how deep this went, I need to show you how I uncovered the first real proof. When the deletions started spreading beyond the screen, I knew I couldn't ignore it anymore. I had to know where this game came from, who made it, why it even existed. I stopped playing for a few days, not out of willpower, but out of pure dread. Instead, I dug into the corners of the internet most people don't even realize still exist. At first, nothing. Google searches led to generic results, empty placeholders. The game's title returned no hits, as if it had been erased from every wiki, every database. But eventually, I stumbled across a breadcrumb, a broken link on a retro gaming forum. Clicking it brought me to an archived thread, half of its text corrupted, usernames deleted. What remained was enough to make my blood run cold. It wasn't just me. One post described the exact same phenomenon. NPCs aggressively player binding. The game rearranging itself after every crash. The flame sync. Another thread participant had smashed his partner and checked his console days later. The title screen was returned on its own. The strangest detail was how many of the every one of them was capable. I kept scrolling, chasing fragments, piecing together mysteries. Most of them intentionally scrubbed, but then I found one surviving message, very the poster's name was dispute. It was never easy. Nobody was supposed to know this. It's not a game, it's a test. They're watching who plays, what happens. And when you stop playing, they come for you. The words hit harder than I wanted to admit, because that's what it felt like. I wanted to screenshot everything, to preserve proof, but when I tried, the files wouldn't save. Every attempt returned error, file not found. Within an hour, the entire thread was gone, as if I'd hallucinated it. But I hadn't. I can't show you the thread, because it's gone now. Just like the forum, the usernames, the people who tried to warn me. Everything connected to the game vanishes sooner or later. And that left me with one terrifying conclusion. The only way to understand what it wanted was to go back in. To play again. To risk everything on one final playthrough. I told myself I was done. I told myself I wouldn't touch it again. But if you've ever been caught in something like this, you know how the pull works. It gnaws at you, festers in your brain until not knowing feels worse than the danger. That's how I found myself powering on the console one last time. The title screen flickered like always, but it felt different, like it was waiting for me. The usual continue and new game options were gone. Instead, a single line pulsed in the center of the screen. So this is goodbye. My throat went dry. I hadn't told anyone this would be my last attempt. The game knew. When the save file menu appeared, I froze. It didn't list erased files anymore. It showed images. Blurred, jagged, distorted, but recognizable. They weren't screenshots. They were photos from my life. My childhood bedroom. My old school desk. A family picture I hadn't seen in years. I scrolled down and the images darkened. My current apartment, my desk, my reflection, taken from angles no one should have been able to capture. I chose the only option it allowed. Continue. The final level loaded, if you can even call it that. It wasn't a dungeon or a map. It was an impossible doors opened into memories I hadn't shared. I stepped into a pixelated version of my childhood vision, except the wallpaper background with open windows and steady clock on the wall picked up the sound. Voices filled the air. Not game dialogue, not sound files. My mother's voice. My best friend laughing about the children I shared. Then dark voice. The parts I tried to block out. The words I swore I remembered. Every sound was echoing my own at the far end of one corridor. I found a mirror, or at least something that came to it. It was a corrupted version of my face, eyes hollow, mouth twisted into grins I wasn't. It whispered in my voice, "We saved everything you lost." That's when I realized it didn't just delete. It was collected. Every save file, every forgotten memory, every piece of me it erased. It was storing them, weaving them into this nightmare level. And here's the part one need you to understand. This is why I'm telling you any of this. It knew things I never told anyone. Secrets I never wrote down, never said aloud. If it knew mine, it could know yours. The screen dimmed, the game's final message etching itself across the void. Goodbye. But the word didn't feel like an ending. It felt like a promise. If you've made it this far, then you need to listen carefully. I'm not exaggerating when I say this might be the last time you hear my voice. I know some of you are already typing, already ready to debunk this. Maybe you'll say it's a corrupted cartridge, a hoax, or just my paranoia. I used to think the same thing. But if you've ever played this game, if you've ever seen it even once, you need to stop. Don't boot it again. Don't test it. Don't see how far you can push it. That's how it wins. Because here's the truth, it doesn't just delete files. That's only the start. First it erases your saves, then your photos, then your messages. Then it moves on to the things you don't even realize are stored anywhere. Your memories, your moments, the little pieces that make you you. And if you're unlucky, if you push too far, it starts keeping them. Not gone, not lost, just taken. If your files start disappearing, it's already too late. I shouldn't even be telling you this. If this video disappears tomorrow, you'll know why. It means it found me again. Maybe you're thinking you're safe because you've never touched the game. Maybe you're laughing at me, sitting in the glow of your screen. But ask yourself, do you even know what's already installed on your console? On your PC? Sometimes it hides behind another title. Sometimes it looks like a demo you don't remember downloading. Maybe it's already there. After you know what's inside. I've said too much. I can feel it pulling me. My words don't sound right. Like they're breaking. G-O-I-P-C-H-I. Just remember this. If your screen flickers after this video ends, don't ignore it. Because maybe it's already watching.